The 31-storey building is proposed for land bounded by King, Boundary and Hunter Streets and Wheeler Place. It would involve the closure of Burwood Street. A development application was lodged with the City Council last night by a group of Sydney architects on behalf of Sydney-based developer Bibia. The proposal is expected to cost more than $100 million to house 5 cinemas, a 200-bedroom high-grade hotel, 28,000 square metres of office space and retail and car parking facilities. The Newcastle Chamber of Commerce and Industry says it would support the tower project, provided it is of sufficient architectural merit to become a landmark for the city. Chamber President Peter Rundle says the building could create 3,000 jobs, but he's aware of concern over the development.
Well, one of the concerns I've heard is the blocking off of the view of Newcastle Cathedral, and I'm sure if you have a good look at the area, it's only from 1 or 2 areas in the west that you would get any blocking off of the view. From some areas, I would think the tower would certainly add to the skyscape of Newcastle, would improve it.
The proposed tower exceeds the current maximum height of the building code adopted in 1975, but according to a council spokesman, it complies with urban design guidelines adopted last night. He says consultants are undertaking an urban design study of the Newcastle Central Business District, which may lead to the abolition of the current building height limitations. Would the Chamber like to see more high-rise buildings in Newcastle?
Yes, in general terms, yes. If they fit in with the general feeling of the city, yes. Because Newcastle's got a problem with space. It's on a narrow peninsula, and I think it does need a little bit more of space gained by going higher.
That's fine. Anything else you want to add? The murder charge follows a shooting at a takeaway food store in Islington last Thursday. Police allege Gillard shot his 46-year-old wife, Beverly K. Gillard, and then turned the gun on himself. The wounded couple were rushed to hospital, but the woman died soon afterwards. At today's bedside hearing, Roslyn, also known as Ross Gillard, was refused bail and was remanded in custody. His condition is now listed as stable. He is expected to appear in the Newcastle local court next Wednesday.
Early today, 2 men walked into the Mayfield police station to report they had found a body in Webb Park. Police later found an elderly man lying semi-naked behind a tree. Detectives and the scientific squad were called in and the area was cordoned off. They then began scouring for any clues. It's believed that the man, Rylance Doring of Mayfield, may have been killed with a blunt instrument. Local residents are being asked whether they have seen or heard anything. At 7 a.m. today, 2 men went to the Mayfield police station and reported that a man was lying drunk in Webb Park at Mayfield. Police went to the park and found the semi-naked body of a 75-year-old man. The man had received severe head wounds, and it's thought that he may have been hit with a blunt instrument. The area was cordoned off, and homicide detectives, the government medical officer and the scientific squad were called in. Police then began searching the area for any clues. The body was later identified as that of Riley Doring, a pensioner and well-known Mayfield identity who was a regular at some of the hotels in the region. Police say he was last seen at the Stag and Hunter Hotel at 11 p.m. last night. They're anxious to speak with anyone who may have seen him after this time.
Mr Fay acknowledged the great strides made in industrial relations in this region in recent times, but says big contracts like the $5 billion Frigate program will need the cooperation of the whole state.
Newcastle has in many ways been the forerunner in industrial relations. Some of the side agreements here, the grievance procedures, etc., are new ground in industrial relations. At the same time, that has to spread. Whatever happens to the frigates and the Hunter is going to depend upon what occurs in the rest of the state, because the Hunter workplace is influenced by events in Sydney and events in other parts of New South Wales. So it's not just a case of saying the Hunter's got its act together. They have made a lot of improvements. They haven't got a perfect system yet, and probably there'll never be a perfect system, but there's a great deal of room for improvement across the state. That has to be attended to as well before we can convince any federal government or any overseas investor to put their money in Newcastle, Sydney or Wollongong. But I have to say that Newcastle has done a lot in recognising the special needs of this area, and in recognising that unless there is a more responsible approach taken by both sides, then there are going to be a lot more people on the unemployment scrap heap.
The ceremony was an occasion to salute both police and community commitment. Newcastle Police District Chief Superintendent Lloyd Noonan presented the Long Service National Medal to 7 serving officers and 1 former police constable. Later, Assistant Commissioner Ross Nixon paid tribute to a growing sense of involvement by police with their local communities. He reinforced his message by presenting community service awards to 9 representatives of media groups, including NBN Television and local businesses. But the most inspiring awards went to 8 people who took part in a rescue at Swansea in November 1985. A police rescue boat overturned in heavy seas and 3 other vessels answered a distress call. Swansea Beach Inspector Sidney Johnson and Kenneth Emerton rescued the crew as 2 more boats arrived. Ken Hoff was swept overboard from one of those vessels.
On the day, I was bobbing up and down like a cork in the water, and there was one wave after another sort of coming over the top of me, and I had a bit of a whack on the side of the head as I went over the boat, and it didn't help things at all, you know. And that was just a survival thing. I had a raincoat on, which I managed to get off, and just a continual pounding of the sea, I just ran out of steam eventually.
While Hoff struggled, the surf rescue boat and another vessel, crewed by Warren Hollis and Gregory Grimmer, began a search in perilous conditions, eventually finding him and undoubtedly saving his life. Warren Hollis recalled that at the time there was no thought of personal danger.
Well, there possibly was, but we weren't looking at that side of the ledger. In fact, at one stage of the game we weren't even wearing life jackets. We'd moved that fast, we'd forgot to put life jackets on, and which is something we should have had on at the time, but that wasn't anything to worry about. We were just more or less worried about Ken Hoff and whether we could rescue him before it was too late.
First of the main events was the March Past, featuring the state and national champions Freshwater. 10 clubs took to the sand, but it was to be Collaroy first, local champs Redhead second and Freshwater third. The open boat event was to be another win by a Sydney club. Manly were too good in the 1 metre surf, with Redhead again being relegated to second. Despite the life-saving season having finished a month ago, the Ironman competitors were still in tip-top condition. It was anyone's race after the board and swim legs, with only metres separating Guy Andrews, Sean Kenny and Graham Bruce. Andrews stretched his short lead on the final ski leg, ran out an easy minute and claimed the $700 first prize.
You're going to be in training for the Ironman series again?
Oh yeah, I'll be training right through the winter for the Newcastle series next summer.
This one of your training runs?
Yeah, I have a bit of a hit out from the training.
Meanwhile, at Bar Beach, 8 teams representing Newcastle and Central Coast surfboard manufacturers are battling it out in a knockout tag team competition. Each team has 5 surfers who have to ride at least 3 waves each. Only one surfer at a time from each team is allowed in the water during the 45-minute heats. Semi-finals and final will be held from 1 p.m. tomorrow. Bone fragments were first discovered in the area on Wednesday, when police say a human thigh bone was found by a Swansea couple. A police search then discovered part of a jawbone with a tooth and fragments of rib. Special sifting equipment was brought up from Sydney today. Tons of sand in the area was put through the machinery. Police found what could be further fragments of human bone. These have been sent to forensic scientists in Sydney, where they will be examined during the week. At this stage, police say there is no suggestion of murder.
According to organisers, Spears Point Park is an ideal venue for the spectacular, providing pleasant surrounds for the 97 exhibition sites and plenty of water space for the essential aquatic side of the 2 days. Onshore displays include the traditional children's draw cards, as well as the Bicentennial Boat and Leisure Show, which has been combined with the spectacular. Many chose to travel to the park in a Sydney ferry, just one of the many vessels involved during the 2 days. At the smaller end of the scale, powerboards, Australian designed and newly released on the market. The spectacular is costing $163,000 to stage, but organisers are confident continued fair weather will see gate takings easily pay for the event.
We certainly hope so, Ross. It is planned to cover the cost and hopefully make a small profit which would go towards the next Bicentennial event.
So we might be seeing more of these in the future?
I would certainly like to do another one, Ross, and speaking with the Mayor, Ivan Welsh, this morning, he was quite happy to see another one.
And it's a very full program today, of course. Can people expect the same for tomorrow?
Most certainly, Ross. We have 36 events on today, followed by 46 events tomorrow, and of course our grand finale tomorrow night.
What are the highlights then?
Well, the highlights so far this morning, Ross, have been that we've had Rick Duncan, his hang glider, world champion of course. We've had the Brett-Wing ski show. We've had the trailer sailor races, the windsurfer races, the jet ski races, the ferry cruises, the commuter ferries, and of course the overall entertainment supplied in the park, the free fun fair for the children, which is an exceptionally good attraction.
Of Lee Wharf was transformed this morning by almost 300 cyclists and the Mayfield Waratah Brass Band. The occasion, the start of the 1988 NIB Rideathon. Amongst the riders, personalities better known from another sporting field, cricketers Bob Holland and Rick McCosker. The cyclists were started in staggered groups to prevent congestion on the roads, and the first were soon making their way around the harbour foreshore. The event was organised by the National Heart Foundation and the Hunter and Northern Kidney Association. Both organisations were planning rideathons for this year and chose instead to combine and split the money raised. The riders gathered sponsorships on a cents per kilometre basis, and organisers are hopeful of raising almost $30,000. The National Heart Foundation plans to use its funds to continue its hunter education program, while the Kidney Association is saving to build accommodation for visitors at its Charlestown Dialysis Centre. Organisers are calling this year's combined 25-kilometre rideathon highly successful and plan to make it an annual event. Today's route took cyclists along some of Newcastle's most scenic roads, although the view was probably most enjoyed by those who didn't have to do any of the work.
that in November 1914, and some of these never returned.
Royal Australian Air Force. That makes all Australians proud. It would have been a resounding success.
Earlier this year, Wellham won the Australian Masters title for
during
the
the main
fourth time.
competition, trying
2
to do
weeks
the right
ago,
thing,
he took
wearing
out the
shoes
New
around.
South Wales
I
title.
stepped on a
But it's
large
always
bit of glass
been the
and went
national
straight through the
championship
shoe
that
and
has
cut
eluded the
deep into my
22-year-old.
foot, so
In 6 tournaments, he has been placed second 5 times and third once. But yesterday on the Nerang River on the Gold Coast, he finally beat the Jinx to record his first win. So far this year, Wellham has proved unbeatable. He hopes to carry that on to the World Championship set down for Melbourne in November. 2 years ago at the last Worlds, he came in third, but this year's form could easily see him take the world crown.
In tonight's news, one of the most daunting of Bicentennial projects comes to town in the form of Phil McDonald and his Penny-Farthing. Phil is riding his ancient model bicycle around Australia, hoping to raise $1 million to fight polio.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
Water police are about to introduce a neighbourhood marine watch in Newcastle. Already operating successfully in Nelson Bay, the scheme will be outlined at public meetings at Belmont and Toronto yacht clubs to help beat a multi-million-dollar statewide crime industry.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
Forensic police are trying to identify the body of a young man found at the base of cliffs at Port Stephens this morning. Police say the victim carried no identification and so far no one is reported missing.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6. Tonight in the news, a cloud burst over parts of Newcastle caused major traffic problems today. Reports came in of water gushing metres deep in some sections of Mayfield, Waratah and Jesmond. Some cars were submerged and police had to divert traffic away from trouble spots. For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
Fishermen stumbled upon the body at 10 o'clock this morning, but it was some hours before police could reach the isolated shelf on Yakabar Head to investigate. Forensic police were airlifted into the site but could establish little except that the man in his mid-20s had recently jumped or fallen from the 80-metre clifftop. The victim is about 1.8 metres tall and was wearing a green t-shirt and a Cobra hat and blue jeans. He had brown hair and a goatee, beard and moustache with a silver spud in his left ear. Local police say he's not known to them.
No, not locally. We don't know of anything at the moment. He doesn't seem to be a local. I've never seen him around the town before.
The only clues are a diving watch and a set of car keys for a Ford and a Daihatsu, but so far no sign of either vehicle has been found nearby. The body was taken to Royal Newcastle Hospital where a post-mortem will be conducted tomorrow morning. If the victim isn't identified tonight, fingerprint experts from Sydney will be asked to help solve the riddle.
In tonight's NBN News, a report on flash flooding throughout Newcastle's southwest. Residents spent today mopping up after freak storms lashed the region. Storm drains have overflowed, several houses are partly submerged, and many roads were blocked by the deluge. For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
What's on the surface is great because what's underneath is great.
A teenager.
I paid you the compliment of assuming
A boy.
that you look great because you are great.
A child.
Well, I read somewhere that actors are children.
Not in Europe.
So we're made for each
Cultural differences between an exotic European actress and a brash young Australian
Of course.
are exploited
Where I
in
come from,
Europe,
there's
a
no
play
arts.
by Michael Gow, which has
have
already
a
enjoyed
history.
great success in Melbourne.
We have a bit.
The play's two
200
stars,
years.
Helen
How much
Morse
do you need?
and Paul English,
I'm not
say
criticising.
their verbal
No.
battles
I look
are
at
a
Just
lot of
brushing
fun.
it completely aside.
No.
Is the play fun?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
It looks like there's some pretty good arguments go on. I won't ask who wins.
No, don't.
Helen, I believe Newcastle owes something to you for the play coming here. You pushed fairly hard for it to come from Melbourne.
Well, I did have a conversation with Brent McGregor about it. I told him that I was involved in the play, and he'd expressed an interest in the play because I think the company here did a production of Away, another Michael Gow play that was very successful. And Brent was interested in Michael's work, and I said I was doing it with Paul, and so we put our heads together and thought it would be a good idea if we could do a season here.
One of Australia's best-known actresses, Helen Morse, says she enjoys working with the Hunter Valley Theatre Company.
Toenail.
She believes that
The
this
way you
play
cough.
will
An
be
illusion.
well
The way you
suited
light
to
a
the
cigarette.
intimate atmosphere
There is
of
a
the
strange
playhouse,
relationship
where it
between
will
you
run
and
until
this
May the
lady.
21st.
You can't stand them.